Okay, Andy, I've looked at you long enough. We're going to talk about buying TV. Do I want to bring the heavy artillery into my media plan? The most expensive, effective medium, well, not the most expensive, but yeah, I think when you put production and everything else with it, I mean, direct mail we know is a very high CPM, higher than anything. We've established that, but still, this is the big firepower where you blast, boom, 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 the cannons. You soften up the ground of a lot of people, big mass reach. Yeah, it's like, okay, it can be targeted with cable and things, a lot of special interest, but still, do I want to bring this into my media plan? Well, one of the things you as the VP marketing are going to ask yourself is, do I have a need to tell a visual story? Because remember, TV is even though yes, it's sound as well, but it's primarily a visual medium. It operates on our eyeballs. The old adage, "A picture's worth 1,000 words," is so true, and there is plenty of research that says that humans just get faster communication from visuals than they do from anything by thousands of times. That's why in presentations it's so important to have a very simple visual along with you while you talk. I mean, you even see it on many TV shows. I'm going to think of John, what the heck's that guy's name? It's early in the morning. The last week, John Oliver is terrific at his staff, whoever does it, the visuals that go along with everything he talks about. He talks for half an hour, right? But the visuals are terrific. I mean, they completely reinforce. They're simple. They don't change a lot. And they just back up everything he does. Anyway, visuals. So you have a need to tell a visual story, meaning you have a new product. You want to show the package. You want to demonstrate what the product does. That's one question to ask yourself. Another question is, do you have the money for it, in the budget? And of course, you're going to, as any media planner is going to do, or any VP marketing is going to do before they consider media choices, you go back to the marketing plan and the media plan, and you've got some decisions to make if you decided to do TV. You better start off with knowing who the target is. Of course, everything you buy, you need to prove that the target's going to be exposed to it, and there is lots of research out there that tracks exposure to media by different groups of people. Another question you have to ask yourself is, if I'm adding TV, what is my geography for that? I mean, of course, maybe you're a national advertiser with distribution across the country. Maybe you're a Broadway show where you really only want to influence the New York area, the tri-state area, and maybe you want to also influence some tourists, coming into New York with the airport. I mean, whatever, but where does your target live? How big is your distribution? What's your geography for this TV? Maybe also you want to do what's called heavy up efforts in certain cities. So you have a reason to spend more money in certain areas. Maybe you have a very highly indexed brand development thing going on in Albany. And so you want to see, or you believe that if you spend a lot more money in Albany, you're going to push that even farther. So what's the geographic targeting? What is the calendar in terms of when do you want to be on the air? Are you selling candy canes with, snowmen on top of them? So you probably don't want to advertise in July. So that's another issue. Of course, the budget, as I said before, the TV CPM is high. But more than that, TV production costs are high. I mean, to shoot a highly produced, with a set, 30-second commercial can cost $1 million or more. I mean, you look at these Super Bowl commercials and, they're paying celebrities and effects and everything else. Oh my goodness. Millions of dollars to produce those. All the TV ads don't need to be like that, Lord knows. You can also produce something for, tens of thousands if you want to. You can shoot a whole film for tens of thousands. But, you get the point. It's typically to compete, you've got to spend a fair amount of money. Also, before you're, figuring out what you're going to buy, a key thing the buyer has to have in mind, as per my friend Andy, is you need to know you're buying against impressions or you're buying against rating points. I understand for network TV buys, you're buying impressions. For local or spot TV buys, you're typically buying rating points. By the way, I just, during the gap there, while the first little piece of the part 2 was loading up to YouTube, made myself a nice cup of coffee with honey in it. I'm out of milk, so I put in a little cream, and it's nice. I'm sitting here with my little cup of coffee, as we say, and that's all good. So this is what's going through my mind as I'm getting ready to make my TV buy here. Now, so I want to make my buy. So who do I call? Who do I talk to? Who do I email? Of course, these days, right? It's not even a phone call. It's mostly by email. A lot of these transactions. So if I'm buying one of the big national networks, including cable networks, I'm going to go direct to, if I don't know anybody already, of course, if I've been buying for a while, I do. I know them. They love me because I'm making buys. I'm the client. They know me. But I have a rep. I have a sales rep, if I have a relationship, who I'm supposed to call to, who's responsible for my business, who will put together a package for me and sort of handle everything and make sure it all goes smoothly. If I don't know anyone there, I'll call the head of the sales office or the general sales office and probably get transferred pretty quickly if I tell them I want to make a buy or find out about what's called avails, what inventory is available. If I'm wanting to buy a local station in a geographic area, and I'm a national advertiser buying multi-markets, going direct to the local station usually isn't the way to go. There are relationships that are set up with rep services, representative services. All these local stations have rep services who handle the national business. And they're not supposed to take national business directly into their market. It's supposed to go through the rep service. And CATZ, K-A-T-Z, is a big rep service. Used to be more of them, I think. But Petrie was one. They're not in business anymore. Cox, C-O-X, Cox is another big rep service. And sometimes if there's a company that owns a lot of local stations, and I'm thinking of a company like Sinclair Broadcasting, they own lots of local radio and lots of local TV stations, I'm going to want to call the head office for Sinclair. They don't have a rep service. They've got so many local stations, they do it all themselves. And if all else fails, I've always got Standard Rate and Data Source, SRDS, which we've seen. I don't need to go to the website again to just show you, the only thing I could see without a subscription, which is just the basic information I get. But SRDS has lots of information about what's out there in local markets and stuff, so that if you're an inexperienced buyer, you can get a lot of good information at SRDS that'll help you. Now, my friend Andy also tells me, and I've misspelled squad up here, so I better fix that, because, we don't want to do that. That can't be. There's not a U in it. It's S-Q-A-D. Okay, so Squad is this research. I went to their website. Andy says the company headquarters are in Tarrytown, New York, which is just up the Hudson from where I live. I'm in Riverdale a little bit. So here's their website. As usual, they're not going to tell us too much. But Andy says, now if I play the video here, you won't be able to hear the audio. And the funny thing is that I tried to embed the video, and there was no way to do it. And YouTube ain't got no SQAD company videos on it. So what I'd like you guys to do, let's see what this does. Yeah, this is the one. This kind of goofy little animation here describes what they do. It's only 4.5 minutes. What would really be cool or groovy would be having a cup of coffee. Anyway, go on here and watch the video, please. 4.5 minutes of a groovy cartoon about what Squad does. It basically gives. Oh no, that's enough. All right, just calm down. Anyway, it'll give you information on what they did. They have research on what people claim they're charging per point in the local markets. You know, the rates that the stations claim they're getting for their inventory in local markets, as reported by the heads of sales in the local markets. So it's always going to be exaggerated because if they're giving their inventory away at half price, no one's going to admit that. But if you're buying, it starts to give you an idea of how much to pay per point for different day parts. We haven't even talked about day parts yet, but of course TV, not surprisingly, as is radio, is sold by day part, with a lot of different viewership in terms of numbers and who's watching based on what time of day it is. Anyway, this resource SQAD will help you as a buyer to negotiate with the local market. So speaking of local markets here, now we look at, you may remember with radio that they had ADIs, area of dominant influence, and for some reason the TV people call similar geographies designated market areas. It's all done by Nielsen now because Nielsen owns Arbitron, and Arbitron was the one that did it for radio, and they all, anyway. These are the DMAs, and of course, just as we saw with radio when we looked at Texas, and you'd look at a city, you know, and you'd see that the actual media area that you buy is a bunch of different counties. It's a bunch of geography around the city. It's not just the downtown area, you know, because look, after all, with radio and with TV, the local signal, the viewing area is big, right? So you're buying the viewing area as defined by DMAs, and they're 200 and some. I don't remember the exact number. 200 and some of them in the U.S. And so when you're calculating your reach and how many of your target audience you're reaching, you're always figuring, you know, how many of the target audience is in the DMAs. So for quick example, New York City has about New York City proper, the 5 boroughs, has about 8.6 or 8.8 million people in it last time I looked. But for radio, the area that is measured has over 16 million people because it includes parts of New Jersey and Connecticut and of course all of Long Island, right? So all the impressions that we would figure out, and we may hopefully recall this from the radio lecture I just did a week or two ago. So we're calculating impressions. So if I get a 7% rating in the New York DMA, it's 7% of 16-something million. That's how many people on average I'm reaching over that measured period. Okay? Okay. I think we're ready to stop this one, and let's meet on the other side.